Hey, what's up everyone? Testing the audio to see if we're good to start. See how it comes back. Okay, cool. That sounds good. Let's go ahead and get started. Switch over to my widescreen. All right. Cool, so we are back into it. I am working on level design for my racing game. This is like I think what this project is it's a side project for me. It's going to be a long-term side project, something that I'll do maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. But I'm thinking that most of the development will probably be streamed. I'm going to add a directional light to this art scene so I could just kind of see better while I'm working on it. But that'll be disabled during gameplay, so it's just really for build time so I could actually see what's in my scene. So anyway, so where we are is I think what I should actually do is start the stream like a playtest. So you guys could kind of see where I'm at. Still haven't had all my coffee for the day. I woke up late. Nice Christmas mug. So I am going to load my open world scene and do a quick playtest for the stream. I know where I'm at and I know what I'm working on, but since I'm sharing this with everybody, I think that you guys should also kind of get to see it when I start it. And one of the things I definitely need to do, because it's really starting to annoy me, is try to improve the scene loading times because they're bad. So right now, if we take a look at the scene view, and let me toggle that light, I am in the open world scene over here. This is a new section of road that I built, and if I zoom out too far, you can't see because of the fog. But we have a pretty big perimeter road that I've built, and I don't think I'll drive around that because it's just a dark, empty road. And then we have these 3 bridges that go into the mainland. Well, this is actually the island. The mainland would, I guess, be the dark area. All of these yellow lines that you see, those are all traffic routes. And yeah, so what I'm working on specifically is just building an open world. So right now the player is over here somewhere on this road section, and I'm just going to drive across and drive into the city. Recently I've been working on this tunnel system, the geometry, and being able to create it from a spline. And that's what that looks like. So that's all procedural geometry from a few different splines that I rigged up together and wrote a sub-spline script so that the child splines would follow the parent spline and allow me to have some control of offset for all of the points. Anyway, oh, I am here. I was in the wrong side. Sorry, I should do the wrong thing. I thought I was someplace else. I am actually over here on the other side of the tunnel. And I think that's what I'm going to hook up today. So I'm going to make these roads connect, and maybe I'll make some other roads. But anyway, so I'm going to drive through this tunnel that I created. And let me just zoom in on it a little bit. This little exterior piece was the last thing I made. I used ProBuilder to model this, and I think that this all is still placeholder and needs some work, so it's definitely work in progress. But anyway, let me switch back to the game view, and there are some collision issues. Like the car might randomly fly up into the air at certain points, but so this is the procedural tunnel that I built. I like it. I can just move the spline points in the scene and the tunnel will adjust itself, so it's pretty good. There is an issue at the floor. I still need to come back to the spline system and fix that. So yeah, that's something that will be worked on. But as far as the general shape and curvature of the spline and all of the meshes involved, that's all working the way that it needs to be. And yeah, there's one of the collision issues. There's another one at the edge of this bridge. And I really don't care about that at this point. Right now, my main goal is to just create geometry content. So I could build gameplay content in the scene. And there'll be another, oh, yeah, that was subtle. Usually the car goes flying right around there. Yeah, so this is the city. I still need to play with the lighting. This is all prototype level. Could drive into these streetlights, which is pretty cool. And they turn off, they stop rendering. There's a lot of optimization using the C# job system and burst compiler to make these interactable objects not tank the application's frame rate. And this area was all finished, but I started messing with the terrain again, and it broke a lot of the detail work I did. So I'm going to have to go into version control and fix all of that, but that will be done once I'm mostly done with this final terrain pass, because I don't feel like dealing with terrains right now. Maybe I'll come in there and fix it sooner, but I don't know. Depends how I feel about it. On whatever day I would decide to do that. We do have some decals that are missing. Those are in the center of the world. I also need to fix those. I'll probably fix those off stream because it's really just me fixing the pivot in Pro Builder and then moving them back to that point. And this is using an old version of my traffic system. I need to update it. And then I want to start, once I finish all the roads, I want to like really focus on building a cool traffic simulation in here. And I think that'll be fun. And once I have that done, I can figure out what I want to do with the game. And again, I'm not working on this like full time or anything. This is just something for me to do to continue to work on new things. Hey, what's up, Studio 4538 Stop Motion? How's it going? Yeah, so basically this is just for me to have fun. I feel like a lot of the time once I start driving around, I just like to drive around. It's really fun to crash into these streetlights for some reason. But that's not what I want the game to be about. So anyway, at this point you've gotten a chance to see some of the cool stuff in the scene, and let's go ahead and build some roads and stuff. Oh, by the way, I am playing on an Xbox One controller. Yeah. It also works with a PS2 controller, but I think I don't know. I feel comfortable with the Xbox One controller. I have a PS4 controller. Did I say PS2? Wow. Anyway, let's load the scene up and make some more roads. I should probably figure out how to reduce loading times for these scenes, because it's bad. I think it's just to load a scene, it's like 45 seconds to a minute. So this was that tunnel system, and I'll just kind of show you what I mean by, like, if I move the spline points, the entire tunnel moves. And that's the system that I set up so I could basically create tunnels really easily. And I used Unity's new paint hole in the terrain feature for the entrances. At some point I was going to like make these tunnels networked, like they'll have an intersection somewhere in here, but I don't want to do that. I feel like that might be stretching my skill set a little far, and honestly, I don't think it's needed. So what I want to do instead is I'll probably make multiple underground tunnels. Like there will probably be a tunnel that starts over near this road and goes under and across into here somewhere, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. For today, I want to build some roads that connect this perimeter road to this tunnel. That way that's all connected. And if that ends up working out pretty quickly, I'll probably end up building some more roads in here, or at least starting to plan them out. All right. So I guess to get started, let me actually delete a lot of these objects that I have disabled. So this arch is a Pro Builder mesh that I've already exported, and I don't really think I'm going to make any more changes to it, so I don't need it anymore. This ground is the tunnel floor, which is already being utilized in that tunnel spline system. So I don't need this here. This camera was just for testing. This ground was the Pro Builder version. I was just sloppy, like really sloppy. Lots of leftovers in the scene. This arch is also a Pro Builder mesh. That's more of a high detailed mesh. It's actually super high detailed. And it probably has more polygons than I want it to. I'm going to delete that. Even though I could probably use it to make something that's just an arch, and I could start over again. Let's see, what's this spline over here? This was one of the original splines that I used for testing for the tunnel shape. I don't need that anymore. Another test shape arch, that one, and another one, get rid of those. And another one, and another camera, get rid of all of that stuff. Yeah, that's another spline I'm not using. And that was the segment that's used to create the procedural road on the spline. Still Pro Builder. I have a final version of that somewhere in here. It's actually an OBJ and a real prefab. Okay, cool. So I'll get rid of that. One more arch. Let's see what this is. Yeah, that was one of the original shape ideas I had. Didn't work out. All right, cool. I got a lot of that cleaned up. And now let's go ahead and build some roads. Save the scene really quick. So I really just need a couple short roads that connect to this segment right here. Let me turn on the water so I could figure out where that line actually is. Let me try something really quick. No, I'll just leave it that way. Kind of want to flip it. Let me see what happens if I do. I want to see if this geometry lines up correctly. I don't know that it will, which is why I'm hesitant to do it. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it this way. I don't think it's going to line up the way that I want it to. I'm looking at the UVing for these edges. Anyway, let me just start creating a new road. So I'm using Road Architect. And I just currently have one road on this road system, which is that perimeter road. So I will add another road. And I guess the first point will be right here. I think it'll just end up connecting to that point right there. And let me reference the settings that I used in this one. So the lane width is 5.7 and we have 4 lanes. I think I have shoulders disabled. I think that's the only change that I exists between them. Yep, looks to be the case. Okay. So the only problem is that is way up there. I mean, that's fine. We could build that uphill. I think that might look interesting when it comes down. Okay, so this is all this land is recessed. Let me flatten it. Select the terrain, go over to set height mode, increase the brush size a little bit. I'll sample the terrain from right here, and I'll just a little bit bigger brush. And let's try to update the road and see if it just places it above it. I think it will. No, it won't. So I am actually going to delete that road. And I'll just repaint that in. And I'll actually just do a little smoothing over here because I'm going to need it anyway. What I found with intersections is that it's actually good to have the entire intersection be flat. So, well, actually, let's just play it by ear and see what happens when I hook it up. Maybe it'll come out looking good. Let's increase the opacity a little bit. Let's increase it all the way, actually. Okay. So back to the road system. Let's add road 2 again. And take 2. Oh, because it still has that history baked in. Let me try to find that file. I don't know exactly where the terrain history is saved. Unity's kind of like freezing up on me. It might be in this file. I'm not sure. Okay, let's try again. Let me see what option that has for the terrain. I sworn I seen it in here a second ago. It doesn't say that it has any terrain history size. Let's see what happens when I paint again. Okay, cool. It has been fixed. So yeah, just deleting that file fixes it. Hey, what's up, Free Fire Turk? What's up, Mikey? Yeah, I'm just making some roads right now, connecting the edge of this tunnel to the main road. Trying to figure out the proper workflow for road architect still. And where's that shoulder option? Shoulders disabled. Update road. Okay, cool. So I think I should be able to connect this properly now. So what I try to do with my intersections when I'm using Road Architect is I try to make them as straight as possible to avoid any issues with the geometry. So that means that I'll have 2 points that are pretty much in perfect alignment, and then the third will be where the curve, that's when I try to start turning. Sometimes more if possible, but I don't really have a whole lot of area to work with this little section that I'm in. We'll see what it ends up coming out like. I don't know that this is, yeah, this is not a, it's not perfectly aligned on the x-axis or the z-axis. So it'll be hard for me to line these points up perfectly. But that's what I did with the little city sections. So I'm just gonna kind of do a visual alignment, visual alignment. And let me just build it out, connecting to up there. How do I insert a point again? Okay, that did it. Yeah, the last stream I did, I wasn't sharing my computer screen the entire time. I was really disappointed that I forgot to switch to share my screen. I didn't realize it until like the end of the stream. It was like a 2-hour stream. What I like about Road Architect is it enforces a max road grade, which is like the steepness of the incline, which is why I have to adjust all of these points one by one, because it won't just like let me take this endpoint and raise it up like way high. Like it'll only go as high as the incline will allow me to make it. Watch, once I press update road, it'll bring it. Oh wow, it did do that. Why did it do that? Just to prove me wrong? It was supposed to enforce the max road grade. Do I have that disabled? Where is that? Max road grade. Enforce max road grade. Yeah, it shouldn't have allowed me to do that. That's really weird. Because it's only supposed to be 0.08%. Or 8%. And that's like way more than an 8% incline. Anyway. Let me just bring that back down. Maybe because I went really, really high. Yeah, see, so I brought that one up a little bit. I didn't go super high, and it doesn't let the road go up any farther. It must have just been outside of what it was able to calculate. All right, so I'm going to put one more point in here. And for this actual intersection connection, I want to try to have like a few straight points that are all on the exact same level. So I'm going to check this node's height. It's 227.97. And the two nodes around it, I'm just going to set to the same height. So like from this road section's perspective, it's mostly at 227.97. And now this one, I want to bring these up to be that same value before I connect them. And I think that's going to give me the cleanest intersection. They're only going up to 222 because of the road grade. So I'm going to increase the height of these a little bit more. So now it's up to 224.8, almost there. Let's see if this gets to 227. 226.9. Let's bring this one up a little. No. Yeah, whatever. Cool. So we are at that same height now. And I still kind of want one more segment in here at that height. So I don't know why they don't let me just insert it over the road surface. I have to offset it and be over the terrain. See if I can make that look better. Okay, so these are a little too close. I'm like 0.3 off of where I want it to be. It's not letting me get there. Now I'm like a full meter off. I think that's fine actually. Now let me try to pull this out so it's, well, here, this is what I'll do. I will grab the terrain and where's my set height tool? So I have the height set to 227.97, and I'm just gonna paint around here a little bit. Give me some more ground to work with. And these just need to be pulled to make them a little bit more perpendicular. Hey, what's up, Bob blah blah, Bob blah blah. Yeah, this is Road Architect. I find that when I use Road Architect, I'm able to actually make stuff quickly, and I appreciate that. So that's my go-to tool for building roads. I really want to go back to easy roads. Maybe I'll try it again, but every time I try it, I just get errors, and that's frustrating. Here I have, at least I'm able to see stuff before I start encountering bugs. I need to spend a lot of time reading that documentation in order to fully figure it out. But also every time I go to the Easy Roads forum, it seems like there's people that are just always finding bugs that the developer's fixing. And I don't really want to be a bug tester. I just want to build stuff. Okay, so now that's mostly perpendicular. Let me try to get these raised up a little bit more. It's behaving a little unexpectedly. I think I'm just going to go ahead and try to connect it anyway. I think I'm just fighting with something that doesn't make sense. You're one of the Bobs from, what was that, Office Space? Or The Office, whatever that movie was, the Bobs. I always get The Office and Office Space mixed up. See how this intersection comes out. It looks like it came out okay. And I don't see any major deformities. I don't need those stop signs there. How do I turn those off? I'd rather place my own. Well, that came out not too bad. Haven't driven on it yet, but I think for a rough first pass, I'm definitely okay with that. Excuse me. I am going to clean up this a little bit. So, do you want one more point in here? Now, this is never the fun part, trying to align Road Architect with other pieces of geometry. I think my road's a little lower than I want it to be. Let me bring that up. Or my ground, not my road. So this road section right here is just like manually created geometry. So it's not going to conform the ground. I need to do that myself. .198.2, that seems good enough for now. Okay, let me make this brush bigger and just kind of do the whole section. This is going to go up there. Well, where will this connect? Probably to that one right there. I'm not going to do too much to this terrain in this section yet. Okay, so I have the ground raised there, but it is poking through that geometry a little bit. Let's lower it and decrease the brush size, and yeah, that works. I'm sure I'll have to come in here and do some more detail work later, but this is good enough for now. Yeah, I love using Road Architect. I feel like I could always just create stuff very quickly. All right, now let's see if these nodes are gonna save these road changes that I just made. I kind of feel like they're gonna want to do their own thing. Yeah, see how it lowered all the ground again? But that's okay, because I can just adjust these nodes, and at least the ground under this other section of geometry is good. In theory, just raising this up to the right point should fix everything. That's 198.1. And I'll set these other two nodes to use that value if they're below it. And they both were. I think I want to raise this up a little bit more. I mean, that feels good enough for now. I don't think it needs to be perfect. Let me just, oh, there is some, let me think. Let me pull this out over here. Pull this one out a little bit more. I'm going to ignore that for right now. It sucks when you're not on like a good angle. Like you get these weird offsets, and I don't want to move the road in that angular direction. I just want to move it in the forward direction from where this is set up. That's probably the biggest challenge with Road Architect. So I have to play with the spline nodes a little bit to try to just make it straight. I mean, I could take it when it's done, and whatever mesh is there, I could pro-builderize it and I could drag those verts over, but I really don't want to have to do all of that. Actually, this might be almost good enough, because I could just like paint the terrain dark under there, the same color as the road, and then you'll never really notice that gap. Let me grab that set height tool again. Actually, hold on, I'll do that in a minute. I really have a feeling that no matter what I do, though, to like make this little intersection really good, the auto updating of the terrain is always going to be fighting me, which is why I'm only going to detail it so much before I move on. Like lining up these edges, that is not going to change, but all of this terrain that's like popping up, that will continue to pop up, I believe. But I will lower it a little bit. Okay, that's good enough for now. Yeah, so at the end I could come in and clean that up a little bit more, but I feel like that's okay. 'Cause honestly, I could stay in here for hours just paying attention to all the details, and at some point you just have to move on. All right. I'm just gonna submit all of this to version control because I actually made some progress by building out this little road section. Even though it's a little wobbly, maybe that's okay too. But I don't really love this, like, it's not even 90-degree angle. I don't love that, so I would like to adjust the ground a little bit more, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, good enough for now. Save scene, save project. Submitted all to Perforce. Okay, cool. Now one more little piece, and then we could call it. At least as far as this section goes. I think what I'm going to do for this one is... How do I want to do this? Let me shape the terrain a little and see if it comes to me. This section is a little too high. I mean, I would like it to be that high, but I need to get the road architect road up this incline. So I have to make some height adjustments. I mean, there's other ways I could go about it, but we'll see. So for here, let's see. I'm wondering if I just want to make another tunnel over here, but now we're already at a coastline. This would be the only tunnel in the section. I think I'm just going to have this road come straight along and then probably turn into this. So I could move this road out a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. Let me just smooth all of this. All right, so I'll add another road. And I will just start it here. Disable the shoulders, it's 4 lanes. And my lane width is 5.7. Something looks wrong with that road. There we go. Adding another node fixed it. I think just about any issue I've ever had with Road Architect, I've always been able to solve, even if it is like in an unconventional way. So to connect this, how do I want to go about doing that? I think I'm going to bring the edge of this road over here out a little bit more and just try to make some kind of perpendicular-ish connection. Oh, I submitted that to version control, so that file needs to be unlocked for me to be able to edit that road. Let me check those road sections out. And we'll hit update all roads. I probably didn't need to do all, but might as well. And I think for this, I do have a good amount of road space left. So I think what I'll do here is I'll leave first 3 nodes alone, and then this one will start to curve off a little bit in this direction. And then this will allow me to kind of curve back around into a perpendicular intersection. Something like this. Now I just need to get the height sorted out. This one's a little too high. I'll bring this down. And I'll figure out the height of this little area. I think let's try to use where this point is. So 228.6. Copy that. Use that same height here. And I'll add another node to this road right over here. And that'll be the intersection node. And the only thing I kind of want to do is make these just a little straighter. The adjacent points, that is. That way this intersection piece is as straight as I could possibly make it. All right, so that looks good. Let me just make sure all of these 228.6211. All right, so now the goal is to bring some of these points up to that same height. And that'll take a little bit of iteration. Hey, there we go. Cool. All right, so really quick before I connect those, I am just gonna create one more node, actually. Right here. Might auto connect. Okay, it didn't. Good. I think that should be good. All right, so now I just drag and drop onto that node, and we should have a nice intersection. Nice, clean intersection created. Sweet. So that worked out. Let's see, how long have we been going? It took about an hour to hook up those two road sections and kind of get the geometry for the terrain in the right place. I still need to line this up over here, but I'm not going to do too much more detail work to this. I think I'll probably just load up the car and drive it on this little section. See what that feels like. It looks like it might be good enough. Close. Very close. Oh, that was a little too much. I think that's good. Let me just clean up the terrain a little bit on the edges. Not smooth height, set height. Yeah, that actually looks not bad. Well, I'm not unhappy with that. I'm actually quite pleased. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this and save the project, and now I'll submit that to Perforce. This was a good hour. Highly productive. Well, this is a big old chunk of land. I have a lot of road to connect. So if I try to figure out what else I want inside of this area, I think that should be my guiding light. I haven't put any planning into this other than I knew I had 3 bridges going off of this small island, and I needed a perimeter road. So first I created the perimeter road, and that connected 2 of the bridges, this one and this one. And then the third bridge was kind of just going into the terrain, which led to the creation of the tunnel system, which ended up exiting over here. And I have another couple road sections. So now that all of the connections are actually complete, well, actually, let me drive on it really quick. But what I was going to say was, now that all of the main connections are complete, I can start trying to plan out what I want. I'm just going to load up the open world scene and I'll press play. I think I have that extra light on, so it's going to be bright instead of dark, which I guess is okay, because then I could actually see the landscape since there's no street lights or anything yet. That's a sharp turn. I might fix that later. I really need to hook it up, or hook up the camera to the right joystick so I can move it. My old camera system allowed me to look left and right. This one doesn't. Ah, man, I fell down. Probably would have been faster to just fix the car manually in the scene view, then reload the scene. Anyway, I feel like this is an area that I can build up a little bit more. Oh, did Unity crash on me? It's a good thing I've been saving. Oh. Bob blah blah has multiple names. Midnight Streets, yes. Yeah, this project takes so long to load. Even other like a brand new project in the latest Unity 2019.4, that also takes a long time to load. So I don't know if it's all related to like me being sloppy in the project. I do need to research that though. Try to figure out how to improve that. So what do I want to do next? That is the question. I jumped in and I drove around that for a minute. I don't think I really need to test that anymore. All it's really like pointing out to me is that I need to detail this terrain to make it look a little bit more interesting. So let's see. I have another idea. So I have purchased a ton of Unity assets from the asset store. And one of them that I purchased that I never used is called Racetrack Generator. It's pretty cool. Well, I've used almost all of these assets, like from a testing perspective, but I haven't actually put them to use in an actual project that has gone anyplace. So I'm going to bring this Racetrack Generator in. And my idea here is that I'm building a racing city for Midnight Streets, which is a racing game. So I think I'm going to have a few different actual race tracks around the city. And those racetracks will probably have some different events at them. And I can use this Racetrack Generator to generate those racetracks and just kind of make that a huge point of interest in a place where the player can go for different events. So yeah, let's do that. The people who made Racetrack Generator also made a city generator, which is interesting. I might check that out eventually. The only thing I don't like about their city generator is like everything's flat. Like there's no curvature to the roads. And I think that's very important. I think if all of your roads are just like straight edged and they don't have enough curves in them, and if they're also like flat, like so that there is like the horizon is all at the same height level, like there's no variety to the height, which makes the game kind of feel like it's flat, literally flat. The buildings in that asset look beautiful though, and they appear to be highly optimized. And from my previous tests with this Racetrack Generator, these racetracks are highly optimized. But if somebody is looking to like make a racing game and you wanted a open world city, and you had $300 to spend, that open world or the city generator is pretty cool. While it's loading, I can just kind of show you. I don't know if, no, this isn't it. So this is the Racetrack Generator that I'm using, just by the way. And oftentimes on Unity, assets go on 50% off. So like if you are interested in either of these, you could probably find Fantastic City Generator for 50% off at some time in the future. But this does look pretty cool. It comes with a traffic system. I'm not sure how optimized it is. But basically it's like you just click and you get a city. The only problem is it's completely flat, which is why I'm building mine using the terrain system. But I think like I'm also trying to learn. So if you're looking to do something that is it's just like for learning purposes or to just try to make something very quickly, I think this is a great tool that will allow you to create a lot of content that looks pretty good very fast. I personally would, if I had this asset, I don't have $300 to just drop on it right now. I would probably use this in certain portions of my environment. Maybe next time it goes on sale, I might pick it up. But yeah, that city generator is very cool. I'm still loading. But yeah, this is the racetrack generator that I'm loading into Unity right now. You pretty much just get this little window, and I think their other tool that I was just showing is the exact same way. Yeah, definitely. These are definitely expensive assets, but the amount of time they save, like, because the real goal is to make something, and like if you're able to produce this much geometry just by clicking a button, and you can find different use cases for the geometry, and you feel like re-UVing it or retexturing it, doing whatever you want, it's just a great head start for prototyping. Like my goal with Unity and games is to get to the point where I could be a professional and make enough money to support myself working in Unity. So if these tools would help me get there, then I think they're a good investment. But if you're just learning Unity, I don't think they're absolutely necessary, but they are super cool. Like for example, I have this other asset. You can see it in my window right now. It's called DS Racing Circuits. So let me go back just for a quick preview. And I think that this racetrack generator originally costed $75. And I don't recall if I bought it on 50% off sale or if I just paid them $75. I might have just paid $75. But if we compare that to this other product, DS Racing Circuits, so just for this one track, which looks nice, but so does the other one. And I've used both of these. I own both of them. This one It comes with some animations and stuff, but honestly, it's not as optimized as the other one, as the Racetrack Generator. And for me to be able to generate as many different unique racetracks as I want and customize them for the $75 I paid for it versus the $40 I paid for just one track, like I can actually build an entire game using Racetrack Generator, which is pretty cool. So let's see, should be imported now. And lately, every time you import something into Unity, the editor just slows down a lot until everything's fully imported. I think this is part of their new sped up import pipeline, which I don't know if I'm actually using the right settings for that or what it is, but yeah, my Unity does start crawling after I import a new asset lately. What Skybox asset would I recommend? I think it depends what you're trying to do. I have, let's see. Let me open the asset store and see what I bought. I have a few different things that you could use for Sky. And there's some things that I really like. So one of them is called Massive Clouds. I think one of the game developers that I've met pointed me to this. His name's Peter Hahn. And this is awesome. See how slow it is? Like Unity editor is just crawling because I imported a bunch of stuff. This window is like even unresponsive in the asset store. But Massive Clouds is a screen space effect, and it's super optimized. So you could put it on, it's a script that gets attached to your camera, and it's just rendering this content in screen space. It doesn't actually exist in the world, which makes it super optimized. Wow, this is going super slow in here. Anyway, so that is something that I recommend if you want to have good realistic looking clouds. But that's kind of separate from a skybox, because if the clouds are baked into your skybox, they're never going to move. So like you could be driving in the same direction, for example, and the clouds are always the exact same scale and in the exact same position. So my opinion on skyboxes is they should be subtle. And I think that you can do a lot with the built-in skybox, but there's also like a lot of assets that focus specifically on sky. Like I have Enviro, for example, which is a whole sky and weather system. I originally put that in this project, but it was actually taking up too much of the available performance. And I'm trying to build an open world game, and I really don't need my sky and weather system to be taking up like 33% of the available performance or whatever it was taking up, 33 or 40%, whatever it was really high. So I'm actually just using a very basic skybox with those massive clouds. That's how I do it. But then there's also this asset called All Sky. It's only $10 and it's 3.6 gigabytes in file size. So that kind of gives you an idea of how many skyboxes are in here. And there's a lot of high quality skyboxes. There's also a lot of like low quality, like the textures just aren't high resolution enough, but it comes with over 200 skies, and the latest version 4.0 was released last year. So maybe he'll update it more, but this has always been like probably the most popular skybox in the asset store. Okay, but anyway, I think Unity is done being slow now. Cool. Yep, I could zoom in and out. And I have Racetrack Generator. So let me go ahead and open that. Window Racetrack Generator. And what do I want to do this? I don't know where it's going to generate if I do it in this scene. Let me just hit the button and see what happens. Here we have the new RTG track. It looks like it's just being created at world 0. Right, so I can't really see the details of it with the terrain, but I can get an idea of how big it is. I know I want to have a couple of these. This one look like. I am actually, so let me generate a large one. Okay, so the large ones are kind of big, but not super big. Small ones, some of them are as big as the large ones. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is disable the terrain, disable the water, so I can actually see what I'm generating. So what kind of racetrack do I think I definitely want? That has a cool looking, those are just stands. I kind of like this one. Yeah, I should test drive it. I've driven on these tracks before, so I have an idea of what they're like. I'm trying to picture what type of racetrack I want for an event as well. Like, not just the visual style, like, does the layout seem fun? Like what I'm thinking about when I look at the shape is this going to be a fun race course? Like, is the player turning a lot? How much they're turning? Are they able to get up to max speed? Things like that. So I kind of want, like, this one seems cool too. How many of these do I want? I think I'm going to start with 2 for the scene. Are you talking about just the environment when you say all of this? Like, that I have currently in the scene? I've probably spent maybe a month working on this environment, but there's also a lot of scripting content that goes into it too. And the scripting content that went into it also helped me build an asset, which I sell on the Unity store for traffic system. I probably spent about 3 months on the traffic system in total. This project in general, I probably spent about 4 months on total. And if 3 months of it was building an asset for the Unity asset store, I don't really count that as part of this project's development. It was just kind of like a bonus. But also I've been working on my first racing game. Let's see. I guess that's where this all started. I recently made one of these videos public. I have a lot of videos that are not public anymore because they're old. But here's one of my first racing games. And this is what got me started building racing games. I built this with Unity 4. And this was a game I published on Google Play back in 2015. So this is when I first started experimenting with car physics and AI and what I could do as far as building cities. It was a very primitive game. It actually did pretty well on Google Play. I had 125,000 downloads, and then I changed the game design completely and uploaded a new APK using a new version of Unity, and I was never able to get back to the same gameplay experience, and that change made people stop playing the game. So in general, I've been working on iterating and learning about car games and design and physics and AI and how to optimize them. I spent a lot of time over the last 5 or 6 years learning that. And I think near December, maybe it was October of last year, was when I started this project. I worked on it for about 4 months, including building that traffic system for the asset store. And then I shifted to another project, and now I don't really have a primary project right now. So while I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, I am just coming back in here and building up this open world. I think this is maybe the 4th time I've tried to build a large open world. The first time I built one was maybe as big as like what you can see on the screen here, which is pretty big. Like when you zoom in and you get to the street level and you're driving around it, it's a pretty big scene. So now I'm just going much farther, and this is going to take a lot of work to detail everything, and just figure out what I want in the world. And also the specific thing that I'm learning with this project is how to optimize all of the content that would go into an open world scene. Oh, were you talking about my old game? No, I completely destroyed it from Google Play. It was just a free app. I wish I didn't destroy it either, because it was starting to earn money and it was kind of going up the charts, and I didn't know what I was doing because I had just started making games, like mobile games, and publishing them, and I was just making all the wrong like business type decisions. So back to this thing. I think I like this one because it has an overpass. Yeah, I'm going to do this one. I like the overpass idea. I don't know if I should. Yeah, I should just combine the meshes. I could always come in here. This didn't take any work to do. I could come back into the Racetrack Generator and do something else later if I don't like it. Okay, track asset is saved in that directory. Cool. Thank you. And there it is as a prefab. So this is not a prefab. Okay. So that's the combined prefab. So let me just take this one that's not combined and I'll name this 001. And this will also be 001. But this one will actually also have combined. There we go. Put that one in there. So now I have the uncombined version and the combined version. Okay, so I could delete this one from my scene. Just put this window over here for right now. Let's turn the scene back on, or the terrain, and now I could bring in this combined racetrack. Oh, I think I needed to... Oh, maybe it's not as combined as I thought. Anyway, what I want to take out of here is... Why am I in prefab mode? So we'll take this and bring it into the scene. So I actually need to remove a lot of this random stuff that comes with it. This fake perimeter. Let's open this really quickly. Now I want to be in prefab mode. Okay, so we'll get rid of the background. And I think that's it. Yeah, everything else looks to be on the track. Very good. Okay, so where is this racetrack going to live? Maybe over here? Yeah, I think I'll just put it over here for right now. What I'm thinking about racetracks is that they'll always be accessible. Like, so you could go there and you could do the current event. So, like this racetrack might have 5 or 10 different events, for example. And once you beat the first one, then you could unlock the second one. And I think that it would be cool to be able to replay previous events. So, like, if there's 10 events total, you need to do the first 9 to unlock the 10th. But you could always go back and do whichever one you want. And the first time you beat a race, you might get some kind of reward or something. I don't know. I'm not really doing the actual gameplay design right now, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Okay, so I am just going to sample the terrain height right here. So I'll go to set height mode, increase my brush size a bunch, sample this height right here. Maybe I need it to be a little lower. Even lower than that. I think it needs to be brought up a little bit more. Okay, let's try this again. Set height, let's get it from here. Okay, cool. Seems like it's the proper height. And let's just smooth it out a little bit now. So I will probably, for this, need to create some kind of parking lot and event entrance, etc. And I'm not ready to do that yet because that's a little bit more detail than what I'm trying to do today. I think I'll make one more racetrack and put it someplace else. And then maybe the next time I come in here, by then I'll have some time to think about the layout a little bit more. I don't know what POP of Midnight Streets means, but the idea is it's just an open world racing game, similar to the games that I've experienced growing up. Specifically, when I mean similar to them, like those are my original influences. So I haven't played a whole lot of modern racing games. What I liked about the old school racing games was they had a lot of personality to them. There were a lot of characters that you would race against, and they had like snarky and sarcastic comments. So it's like a story-based racing game. You want to go and you got to beat all of the different personalities of the different racers. That's what I'd like to create. And then when you beat them, probably get their car or something like that. I don't know exactly what the gameplay design is going to be like from that perspective yet. I have ideas, a lot of ideas. I don't expect anybody to watch, so like if you guys are watching, you pop out, come back in, that's super awesome. I'm happy somebody's watching, and if you're watching to learn stuff, that's cool. If you're watching to just hang out, that's cool. It's nice for me to be able to build stuff and talk about it at the same time. And that's kind of why I'm doing this. Let's make one more. Oh no, do not overwrite. Does this have something on it? Oh, it has a track config script. I bet you I could just remove that and then the error will go away. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. But I don't know where the error came from. Let me try to track that down really quick. I still get an error there. That's really weird. You know what? Let me take this position. Because Racetrack Generator apparently doesn't like that I have a racetrack in the scene already. So let me just apply all these prefab changes. And let me try to just disable it and see if that works. By works, I mean if I'm able to create a track without getting an error. Okay, cool. No, I don't consider anybody an intruder or pest. You guys are free to ask me as many questions as you like. And if I have the answers for them, I'm happy to share. So I'm gonna disable this terrain again. I think for me, I just really enjoy working with Unity and learning new things. And that's kind of always just what I'm doing. I think for this game specifically, I'm probably going to do something like, as it relates to the live streams, and just like the amount of work that I'm going to do for it. Oh, that's cool. This one has like a little tunnel system. I could build the terrain around that and put a hole in there. That's cool. I kind of like this track for that reason alone. But what I was saying was I think that I'm just going to be working on Midnight Streets maybe once a week. And it'll probably be Sundays is what I'm thinking. I really like that little section, that underground section. I think I might take this track just for that, especially because it's long, so you could go really fast. It'll definitely be a high-speed race, but then you also have to slow down for that tunnel. And there's walls, so I could imagine the cars bouncing around. I wonder what the inside looks like. Let's check it out. Let us see. Not bad. Wonder, check out those lights. Is there anything there with the mission already? Or do I have to create that? That looks like it's all just one object. That's okay. Could put something there. I know I only pressed the button like once or twice, but I think I like this. Oh, and we could change I did not realize that when I built the last one. I have different fence options. And different road options. I imagine that these can actually be changed later too, even if it's combined. Ground options. Yeah, that looks cool. I think I'm going to keep this one. So I'm just going to combine these meshes. What's up, Marcel? Yeah, like there is a lot of preparation work. And so like to talk specifically about it, I've kind of like mentioned a little bit here and there what I'm doing. So when I first started this project, I built this section, which is actually kind of big. It's just the world is large, so it makes it look small, but that's big. I figured out the workflow for all of the road creation and the terrain adjustments, and I figured out how to create these buildings. For example, this is using Seascape, and they are super optimized. I don't really love Seascape. There's some limitations that I don't enjoy, but from a performance perspective, they are super optimized. So if I go into any other building system, it needs to be just as optimized as these. And I think what I learned as I was creating this little section right here, it's going to translate to creating the large open world section, which I'm kind of just blocking out right now. And all of the detail work that I'm doing, that will be saved for the end. So there was a point when this island was fully detailed, but it's all part of the same terrain. And because I'm using Road Architect, so like I went over here and I smoothed out all of these like landscape areas, for example, where you see this like huge incline. That's all been fixed, but it was in a previous version of the terrain. So once I started using Road Architect again, it kind of went back to its whatever it had stored for the terrain data, and it reverted all of this. So I need to actually go in and like turn these into separate terrains and revert this area back to its original settings. So I'm kind of squashing some of my work as I go. And like I said previously, I'm really just learning how to properly build an open world and how to optimize it. So if I make mistakes, I'm not really, I'm not going to rush this game out. This game could take 6 months. It could take a year. It might take more. I have no idea. I think I'm just going to work on it 1 day a week and try to work on other projects as I'm working on this too. So it'll be like I have a choice of what I want to pick from. And if I feel like one of the projects is good enough and I could see a way to completion, then I'll focus on that project and then maybe release it. That's basically my mindset as it comes to the approach of large scale work. So I will just, I think I combined these already, but I'm just going to press it again. I don't think I did. Yeah, my major goal is to not do any game design work right now and only focus on the open world. And I think by the time I have an open world, I'll be ready to focus on game design, and that process will go much quicker. Anything that I feel like I've done, like game design related to this project, I feel like at the same time I've also like probably not implemented it in the best way. And yeah, the point is like when you make a game, you have a starting point for the game. It's hard to make a starting point for a game when you don't have anything in your world yet, if that makes sense. So this is track number 2. And yeah, now I just got to find a place to put it. So I think all I wanted to do was actually make just those 2 racetracks for now. I might make a third one. I'm not sure. But let me find a place to put this one. I think that this one might actually be, yeah, that would be cool. This little sliver of land that's over here, let me enable the water so you could see what I'm talking about better. The entire time I've kind of been trying to figure out what am I going to do with this. And I think it's just going to have a racetrack kind of over there. Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know if it'll fit though. Well, when you're working on a game, you kind of want to do as little rework as possible. Like you don't want to keep squashing things that you're doing and then having to redo them. So I think proper planning is always good. Yeah, so what I'm thinking is that this little section with the tunnel is just going to actually go under the terrain, and this road will just be moved a little bit. Let me go ahead and change the terrain height. Oh, that has a lip on it, that's why. Oh. So this track is not actually flat. I think Racetrack Generator was updated a little bit since I've last used it. I don't think it had curves like that before. That's very cool. I think I'm just going to grab this road and move it out of the way a little bit. Oh, I need to check those out again. Okay, go. And update road. I think I might actually, the more I'm thinking about it, no, I'm just gonna try to stay simple. I think oftentimes I come up with cool ideas that create a ton of work for myself. And I want to try to not do that. I think keeping it simple is the easiest way to finish something. I don't think I've ever heard of the subways. I'm starting to get old. That means that I don't know what new music comes out. I think the last time somebody asked me if I listened to a specific group, I was like, I don't know who they are. They're like, do you listen to the Killers? I was like, who's the Killers? They sound mean. And then I was listening. It turns out I was liking some of their music, and I had no idea. When I was young, I knew all of the different musicians. I think I turned 38 this year. Getting old. Not yet. Well, starting to, I guess. 38's still young. So I think what I'm going to do here, like as I'm building this section, I think this road is going to kind of like look down into that, because that's kind of the way everything's fallen into place right now. And it'll be cool to just have some AI cars racing around that track that you could just watch. So like when you're not participating in a race, you'll be able to drive by and still see the cars driving through the track. That would be cool. Where does this tunnel start and end? Where are you at, tunnel? Okay, so the tunnel ends right there. All right, thanks for checking out the stream. See you later, Maestro. Right, and this one right here. Yeah, they're almost pretty much aligned properly. I think I'll just pull this over a little bit more. All right, and let's clear some more terrain. Now I could actually see what's going on here a little bit better. I also kind of feel like some of these pieces right here, like this grass piece, I might actually, I think I'm just going to remove the built-in grass that they have and the built-in trees, but they're going to stay for right now. But I have a feeling that I'm just going to like manually blend that stuff into my terrain as I see fit. All right, so now I can see everything. Maybe I'll keep that grass that came with it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Part of me likes it, and the reason that I like it is because the racetrack shape is not 100% flat. Like there is some depth to it, so these edges I could probably easily blend into the terrain near the seam, much easier than it would be to kind of go in and do that around the entire track. But I don't know. Don't know yet. Oops. So I think after this, I'm probably gonna call it quits for this stream. Maybe I'll come back later, but I don't know. Oops, too much. So this whole section would actually need to be filled in a little bit. Since I've done a bunch of work, I'm actually gonna save everything now and submit that to Perforce because Unity did crash on me during this stream, so I want to make sure that I'm not gonna lose anything. Okay, let's reconcile that folder. And submit all this stuff. All right, cool. So all of that's submitted. I need to Again, recheck out those road sections. And then let's improve this terrain a little bit. I don't think this node needs to go up. If anything, I want it to go downhill so that as you're driving downhill, you can kind of see this cool racetrack. And you'll be able to see some cars driving by. That I think is the goal for this area. I think what I'm really looking forward to is just putting traffic on all of these roads. To me, that I built that whole traffic system, and now I want to use it. But I got to have roads to put the cars on. Well, I think that's good enough for right there. Okay, so now let me smooth the terrain a little bit. Yeah, I did. I had to look for your channel, Studio 4583 Stop Motion. I think let me do that now since you're here. I didn't leave a comment on your video. Studio 45838. Wait, 4 5 3 8. Where's your channel? I'll tell you what I think while you're here. There we go. Yes, I do recall this now. So here is my feedback. Let's see. So I think you should adjust the UI on the screen. Right now your game mode is set to free aspect. I think you should set the resolution that you want the game to be presented in. And then I think you should get all of those UI buttons off the screen and move the speedometer so it's like in the lower right hand corner, not closer to the center of the screen. I think the environment and the road system that you have, it's starting to look like it could turn into something, which is pretty cool. I feel like it's a little flat. I don't recall seeing a lot of height variation in the roads, that is. So, and this section right here is just like really straight and there's nothing in it. This area, I think the highlights and the reflections in your road are turned up a little too high. I think all of those graphical effects should be subtle, because right now my eyes are just kind of like focused on the glare of the road. Other than that, I think it's a great start. I would try to add some kind of AI vehicles driving around. I don't think you need a full traffic system, but make it so that there's cars that you could avoid. And I think that would help make it look cooler. But overall, it looks like a decent starting point. I would just clean up the visuals a little bit. And then from there, I think you could add more interesting things to the landscape. Like right here, it just kind of looks empty. And also try to find something specific for the player to do. Like I think if there's anything for the player to do, that would be also something that would add a lot of value. Yeah, looks good so far. All right, so back to this. Yeah, it takes a lot of work. One thing too, if you feel like your city is a little big, try making it smaller. That's something that I've learned. The only reason I'm doing such a big open world is because I've built smaller ones before and completed them, and it's always a challenge once you get like to the midway point if your city's too big, because at that point you kind of just have to finish it or stop working on it. And you always reach some kind of aha moment somewhere in the creation of it, like, oh, I wish I would have known that when I started it. And those are the best moments to have when you're creating stuff with Unity, at least to me, because that means you learn something new. I think a lot of the things that we don't realize, well, I mean, we do. Like I realize that, like when I look at a AAA game, I know that there's like millions of dollars that were spent on it, and the open world was built by a team of like dozens, maybe some of them like GTA, hundreds of artists. And we want to recreate those environments. But I think it's important to be aware that like those dozens and hundreds of artists that create the open world games that we know best, those are professionals in their industry that have been working there for most of their life. Yeah, no problem. It's always nice for me to see other stuff. I remember when I first started, and it was hard to get feedback. Like you post it on YouTube, but people don't say things. I think oftentimes like they're getting started is the hardest part. So any feedback you can get is always very useful. And I'm always happy to provide it. I started at some point and people had to give me feedback, and I learned from it. I think some of the same feedback that I gave you is feedback that I'm actually using right now. Like, I think the first time that I made a racing game, people were like, yeah, that's cool, but all of the city is flat. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And that kind of made me think about that, like moving forward with everything I did. And I think since then, I've never made a flat city. I always made sure that there was a lot of height variation in the roads, which forced me to look into different tools and not just use model prefabs that some artist made that they put on the Unity store. While that's a great starting point, I think that you can only really take it so far. And those kind of models, like that's really good if you're targeting mobile because they're super optimized and they could be batched, which means that like from a performance perspective, your game is going to run well. Whereas like a scene like this will never run on mobile. not without a lot of work. If your goal is to make a mobile game, I think you're actually going in the right direction. Less is always more with mobile. But if you're making something for PC, people just expect like a lot more out of it. I feel like I could bring this road down a little bit more. I'm gonna do that. Because I think as the player will come around this bend, I want them to see that racetrack off in the distance. And the road needs to be going downhill for that to happen. And I do think that like right here, I don't think it should be visible because all the way up to here, like we don't want to be drawing too far in the distance. So maybe this will work the way it is right here. So once you get to this point, that's when you could kind of see over the ledge. Yeah, so I think that the height of that point is good. This point, let me see if I can bring it down a little bit more. And bring this one down a little bit more. A little bit more. And this one a little bit more. Yeah, if you're still watching Stop Motion Studio, that's what I'll call you because your numbers confuse me. I have a Discord channel, and there's other people who are still getting started with Unity. And there's a channel dedicated to sharing your projects. So you are welcome to join and share your projects to get feedback. Doesn't matter if you're a novice or if you're an expert, you're more than welcome to come. I don't think there's very many expert level developers sharing their projects in my Discord though. Very small. Okay, so this one will go down a little bit more. And I feel like that will kind of look pretty cool to see in the distance. Yeah, that'll be a nice vista. I'm gonna kind of leave it at this point for now. So let me smooth the terrain over this section. Not too bad. I think that is starting to look okay. Let me get some smoothing over here. And then I'll just raise the terrain to match. Yeah, I could share a link to Discord. Let me grab that. Oh wow, the link is hold on 1 second. There, that link should work. Really, it's just a place for me to kind of share all of my work. So I share my asset store work, my game development work. And if there's like other topics that come up and other people want like different channels to talk about different stuff, eventually like we can make those channels. But right now there's just one channel to share your project. And then there's like a general channel where you can talk about whatever. It's not super active. It's actually just a very small Discord. I just started it this year and I don't really advertise it or share the link with anybody. What I found though is that as I'm doing these streams, there have been a few people that have asked me about taking a look at their project, and I'm more than happy to do that. So I think that if you're looking for that, joining the Discord group is probably the easiest way to share your project with me or share a link with me. I don't know if you guys are allowed to share links in the chat when I'm streaming or not. Okay, so now that all of this is kind of like smoothed out along this edge of this road, I'm going to try to fill in some of this terrain. And then I got to cut some holes in it to go through right over there. So let me switch over to the set height tool. And I'm just going to, how do I want to do this? I'm going to sample this height up here, because I'm trying to cover this edge right here specifically. Actually, I'm going to sample the highest height, which means I didn't really need to smooth all of that. Really, I just want to go around this perimeter. I'm using Vegetation Studio for trees, so all of these trees that are in here, I'll probably replace with the better looking Vegetation Studio prefabs that I have set up. I'm using trees from Nature Manufacturer. They have some good looking vegetation. And I'm using the micro splat shader, and I think that I can actually use that to blend this little grass section from the Racetrack Generator into the terrain, and it'll look pretty seamless actually. I don't want the terrain in this center area to be this high, but I'm going to use it this way just to get this perimeter outlined. I know it's way too high in some of those sections. But it's a lot easier to carve down the terrain than it is to carve up. All right, I might as well just fill in this center section. Sweet. Well, it's getting there. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like the idea of changing the radio stations. I don't know if you've gotten it that far or if you just turn in radio on or off. All right. Question is, do I want to detail this anymore right now? Like, I think I should smooth it out and just paint a hole in the tunnel really quickly. And that will be it for today. See, how long have we been going? 2.5 hours. Oh wow, I lost track of time. I think I said I was going to stop a while ago. And then I got into this racetrack over here. Yeah, I never did anything with turning the radio on or off. That's pretty cool. I think like trying to hook some type of free radio service into the app and changing the radio station, that would be super awesome. I think what I loved about radios and inside of the car in games when I was growing up, I would love changing to the talk radio station where it had just a bunch of like people saying these really asinine things that made no sense. Like obviously nobody would ever say things like that, and I don't know. Like the talk show hosts in the GTA radio stations, those guys were awesome. They would just always make me laugh. What am I doing? Yeah, I'm getting a little tired. Need a break soon. Okay, smooth height. That's what I want. I think once I'm done, like with everything on this terrain, I'm probably going to bring Gaia back into it and use it to auto texture all of these surfaces again. Yeah, those are good styles to put in racing games. I'm probably going to have a mixture of all types of music. Do some rock, some electronic, some rap. Maybe some hip hop. But I kind of feel like where we are now with games and music, like, I don't know about you guys, but me specifically, when I'm playing a game, I actually have the music off and I'm listening to radio. I don't know. But the games that I play are like, I don't know. I really only play, let's see, what do I play? I've been playing StarCraft 2 recently. Played Diablo 3 a little bit recently. And personally, I like listening to my own music. I leave the sound effects on for the game sometimes. Depends what it is. Yeah, that's cool, Marcel. I like that idea. I think the only thing that might be wrong with that that I can think of that I'd personally be afraid of is if like that music somehow got copyright strike and somebody's playing your game, like they're streaming your game and then they get demonetized because of that. Like it won't affect you at all, I don't think, but it'll affect the users. I'd be curious to know what you think about that. I'll have to look at Music Starter Kit. I don't know what that is. Hey, what's up, Game Guru? Yeah, Maestro is one of the viewers of the channel. Thanks for coming by. The stream is actually close to being over. I've been on close to 3 hours now, and it's almost time for a break. I'm working on finishing up this little racetrack area and kind of just blending the terrain around it, and there's a couple tunnels, so I'm going to cut some holes inside of these tunnels right here. Let's see. Let's actually do that now. So for this little piece right here, I'll switch over to the paint hole mode, and I'll reduce the brush size a lot. Now when I click on the terrain over here, it's just removed. So now the car can drive through that tunnel. And over here, I don't want to remove those like that. I should just lower this terrain. Well, let's see what it looks like. So I'll switch over to smooth height. Let's see if, no, can't get anything from smooth. Let's set it. So I will sample this lower portion and just kind of bring this terrain down. There we go. Yeah, I think having a second folder, or maybe giving them like access to like a string field where they could put in the URL of their own YouTube playlist, that might be really cool too. Game Guru says, is this Racetrack Constructor? Yeah, I used Racetrack Generator to generate 2 racetracks for my open world. One is a smaller one, which I put over here, and another is a larger one. But I'm using a bunch of different tools to create the scene. I have a huge collection of Unity assets that I've purchased over the years. And I'm just now starting to understand how to use them properly together. Let's go back to smoothing and increase the brush size a little bit more. Just clean that up. And take a look at this tunnel. Need like a little piece of geometry I could snap to. Yeah, that'll work. No. There we go. How about this one? This one? I'll just manually move in there. That's the hard part about working with these large open world scenes, is sometimes it's just hard to get where you want to go in the scene view. Looks like there's a little gap in there. That's okay, I could deal with that later. That is not a big deal. Yeah, I did not realize Racetrack Generator had like tunnel sections of the track. This is really cool. Lets me add a little bit of variety to the environment without really having to work too hard for it. It's not like a super, like I wish these walls had some smoothing on them. but I think it's okay. I could probably, I wonder, just pro builderize those and add a smoothing group, and maybe it'll make it look nice and smooth. So the tunnel seems to be okay. So this is the section I need to carve out now, because I'm going to come out of the terrain. And you can see that, yeah, we got to cut that out right now. And then this section's done. Yes, I do make assets for the Unity store. Yeah, Marcel, you could probably have like an option to use the built-in music, or if they have an internet connection, they can use that option. And then you could let them choose. I think that would be cool. Okay, so for this section, I need to lower the height. So I'm going to sample the terrain right here and just dig in till I reveal the edge. And I need to sample another lower height. Well, no, this isn't terrain, so I don't have anything good to sample. Let me try it though. Let me try to sample right there, see what happens. Okay, cool. I'll lower this a bit. Get around the edges. And at this point, I could kind of just come in and paint holes right in there and it'll work. But from my experience with painting holes, I still have a bunch of stuff that I need to smooth out and reduce around the edges of it. It's going to change the shape of everything. So these holes will become offset. But I can fix that later when I'm actually worried about it. No, I got to do that now, unfortunately. See, when you're painting a hole and the brush gets really big vertically, it means it's kind of like tiling. Should, like, whereas if I were to try to paint a hole here, it's really tiny. But this circle is becoming a large oval. By smoothing this terrain a little bit and blending it in to the geometry, I'll be able to get more precise holes. So I'm going to smooth first. Increase the brush size a bit. Background story of me. I have been working with Unity for like the last 10 years almost. Went to school for computer networking and cybersecurity. I taught myself how to program in C# while learning Unity, using internet tutorials and stuff. And reading a lot of code. And then from there, I started building mobile applications. I got some work in Unity, and that's pretty much how I make my money now. I've done professional work and I sell assets, and I enjoy making games. I've probably been focused on making racing games since like 2015 and just iterating on every aspect of their creation. my biggest work in Unity that's a personal project is probably the arcade racer game kit. So this is, I'll just show you what I've made on the asset store, and because this is basically my portfolio or my history. So my publisher name is Turn the Game On. And these are my assets. I have a traffic system that I made recently, a racing game template, a timer system, little arrow pointer that's not really much of anything, an avatar driver, and a dialogue system. This is basically the last major project that I built that was the framework for me deciding that I want to try to build an open world racing game. So I did a lot of work on AI, a lot of research and figuring out how to make cars move and whatnot through an AI waypoint route system. There's no nav mesh being used here. I still want to explore racing using a nav mesh. So now that I've built this kit and I built a traffic system that's super optimized, now I'm working on building this open world scene that we have here. And eventually this is going to be a game project that gets pushed over to Steam, or I don't know what'll happen with it. Right now I'm just kind of freestyling it, using it to relax and learn. But I feel like I built so many different features for the racing game when I created this template that I'm ready to use them to make an actual game. This city that you're looking at right here that's being driven through, this was the last city that I built. This one, all of the work that I do is done 100% in Unity. So yeah, basically I make racing games. Although I haven't really made one yet. So it's kind of like I've made mobile racing games, but I don't think mobile games really count because they're just so easy. But anyway, so now what my goal is to build out this huge like open world and put a racing game in here and have fun doing it and see what I could learn in the process and just try to continue to grow my skills. And that's what I do. That's my history. Lower this all a little bit more. Oops, too much. Oops. It'll have a lot of visual customization. I don't know if there will be tuning. I think what it'll be is that there will be a lot of opponents that you win cars from. And I'm not really sure yet, because what I want to do is I want to actually like plan out all of the design in a single phase. And right now when I'm doing the world building, it's really hard for me to kind of think about the game design and plan that. Because I should be focused on just finishing this world. So I feel like once I have a world to make a game, I can focus on game design, and that process will just be so much better. Because like the reality is I might actually, if I'm only working on this scene for like a day or two a week, and it might not even be a full day, this could take me like 6 months to a year to finish this environment. And I think once it's done, just focusing only on game design, I think that's a much better strategy. Because I started to do some of the game design planning. When I started this project, but I feel like everything that I planned, I kind of want to change it. Like I built a test race. I built a bunch of test systems, test like basic frameworks for minimap and stuff like that. But I don't want to go too deep into those systems because, like, honestly, it doesn't matter if I build a minimap system right now. It doesn't matter if I build, where's the paint hole? It doesn't matter if I build so many different things, because all that matters is that I have like the actual environment to make the game. I think building the assets over the years, that kind of taught me. Let me try to make that hole smaller. I don't know if it's possible. Building the assets over the years really helped me like hone in on my skills. And because I have so many of the systems functional in the assets, and I've integrated a lot of things in different projects before, I don't think that's going to be a challenge for me. The challenge is the world building. Okay. Oh, that did come through. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's undo those last couple edits. What the heck? Okay. Painting holes is sometimes interesting because you don't really have precise control of the terrain, and you don't know what's going to happen with the hole until you paint it. Let me try to fix this. Yeah, let me undo this hole. I didn't realize I went down below this. All right, Marcel, thanks for coming to check it out. We'll see you next time. Yeah, Need for Speed Underground was the game that that's the racing game that I grew up playing. A lot of my inspiration comes from those old school games. I don't think that I can do the same level of detail that they did, but that's where the inspiration's coming from. Oh, that's a hole that I need to fill. Okay. Okay, so I think what I need to do is just have all of this smoothed out a little bit better. Change the opacity a bit too. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with any actual gameplay systems yet. There might be some type of tuning, but I don't know. Because the thing is, like, whatever systems you want, you have to build. So, if you're not careful, you can get into a situation that's called feature creep. That's where you basically bite off more than you can chew, and you're just in constant development, and you'll never be able to finish because you want to put too many features into your game. So it's not that I don't want to do things, it's that I'm only one person, so I can only do so much. And I don't want to spend my entire life making this game. So at some point I have to call it good enough. No worries. Thanks for coming by, Game Guru. Have a good night. Okay, so I think I can cut this out now without it affecting the upper levels. Let's give it a try. Paint hole. Very small. Let's see what happens. Hey, it came out good. Let's go in here. Any poking through? No. Sweet. This section's done. Well, I am not happy at all with the way like the middle section of the terrain looks and the edges of the terrain looks. I need a lot of work in that regard, but the perimeter is mostly covered. Like all of these edges of the ground mesh are covered, and I have holes cut into the tunnel entrances. I am happy with this. I think today was a good day. So, what's up, Prod by said? I'm not really looking to hire anybody. I don't know if I'll ever be in a situation where I'll be able to hire anybody. That would always be super awesome. But at the moment, no, I'm not currently looking for an artist. I think it would be great to have one, but I don't have a budget for one. That would be super awesome to have a budget for this game, have a publisher, and be able to put the right people in the right places to help me make it. Like, that's definitely a dream of mine. Whether or not I will achieve it, I don't know. But that's the goal. So I'm pretty much done for today. And before I sign off, I'm going to just kind of recap what I did. and I'll do a quick test drive in the scene. So today I built this little road section over here that connects this tunnel and also this road section, which kind of builds up this little section of the map a little bit more. Previously, it was just this perimeter road. So now we have the tunnel that goes through the main bridge into the mainland, and it comes out in this little cool section. And I feel like the landscape over here is cool, and I could probably do a lot to make it look really interesting. I'm looking forward to detailing this section. I had no plan when I started it, so I'm pretty happy with the way that came out. I also decided to add 2 racetracks. The first one is a smaller racetrack. I like this one because it has this little overpass, which is pretty cool. And as you're driving by the racetrack, the goal is for you to be able to see it. I don't think that's well established for this track, so that's something I'll need to work on. But for this track over here, you're on this section of the road. Let me try to get focused good. If you're on this section of the road, you should be able to look down and see the racetrack, which is pretty cool. The plan will be to have AI racers on that track at all time that are just racing around. So when you drive by, you just get to see some cool AI racers driving pretty fast along a track. That's my goal there. Yeah, maybe I might take this game to a Kickstarter, prod by sub. I don't know. I think to take something to Kickstarter, you have to have a really good foundation. And I think that I'm starting to have some kind of foundation, but I need to have a really good plan too. And I think whatever I would make for a Kickstarter for this game probably wouldn't earn me enough because I don't think the project's in good enough state yet. Yeah, I feel like today was a good day. I definitely added a lot, like from a blockout perspective. This mainland looks less empty, which is good. How did I make the IK driver move the steering wheel? So the steering wheel gets hooked up to the car's horizontal input. So basically you rotate the steering wheel based on the steering input, and then you just clamp it. And from there you use Unity's IK system, and you put some points on the steering wheel, and the IK avatar driver will hold those points on the steering wheel, and when the steering wheel turns from the input, those points that are attached to the steering wheel that the driver is holding, those will also turn. And that's basically it. And then every level of detail from there, like, you just continue building up. But it's really just based on the steering input. So yeah, so let me save this scene and save this project. And we'll come and do a quick drive through. Just the open world scene. Yeah, today's stream was a little longer than I thought it would be. I think I said I was gonna end it about an hour and a half ago, and then I just kept on building stuff. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and drive through some of the stuff we built and see what it looks like. I have not rebaked occlusion culling. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time to bake for a scene this size, and the more geometry I add, the larger it's going to be. So you might see some stuff like you are right now popping in and out because the geometry has changed. I'll probably bake occlusion culling once I end the stream. So this is that first section that I was talking about, and it's not really fun to drive through because the occlusion culling. And I need to shape this landscape a little bit more to make it more interesting. Yeah, I can tell you the maximum map size. Like you can make super huge games, but the thing is, I'll show you in just a second. Well, actually, I could show you now. Well, how do I do this? Give me a minute and I'll show you right before I end the stream what the maximum size is. I forget what I used, but I made this map the maximum size. I'll measure it with a Unity cube. I could guess, but I think it's wrong. My guess. It's either 4 or 8 square kilometers. And the reason is it's because of floating point precision. Floats only have a maximum number of points or numbers that can be part of the float. So once you start having like a distance of like, I think over like 4,000 or something like that, maybe it's 8,000 away from the center, the floating point accuracy just becomes reduced. So you start encountering weird bugs, like physics bugs, because the calculations all break down. What a good test that you can do is you can, like, to figure out what the limit is, and this is how I did it. I created a very, very, very large plane, and I put the this player car in the center of the world, and then I just started driving in one direction. And once the physics started breaking, that's how I knew that things just weren't right. Like maybe the camera will start acting weird, or the lighting will start acting weird. I don't think you can get 64 square kilometers. I think that is way too much. I know I don't have 64 square kilometers, and I experienced the floating point bug outside of the perimeter of what I created as my map. So this is the cool view up here where I should be able to see, well, maybe not because occlusion culling needs to be rebaked. Maybe it's the next hill. But yeah, if you just put your, like a player vehicle in the center of the world and just start driving in one direction, you'll know when you hit the limit because everything just, not everything, slowly by slowly, things just stop working. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of occlusion errors, but the goal would be for the player to be able to see some of this as he approaches this bend. And I'll work on that. But I'll drive into the city really quick just so we could take a quick look for anybody who's new. Oh, that looks kind of cool right here. Still need to adjust the landscape, but yeah, that's a nice view. I don't know what Pro Post is. The post-processing stack? I do use Unity's built-in post-processing stack. And I'm using just the default render pipeline. So I'm not using their HD render pipeline. I tried using the HD render pipeline when I started this project, but there were a lot of limitations, and all of the assets that I had were just running into all of these errors. So I have an extra light on in this scene. Let me turn that light off. I was using it so I could see while I was building, see better. This is what it's supposed to look like. Although this look is not final yet. I feel like it was a really good first pass. And my main goal was just to have optimized graphics, not necessarily the best looking graphics. So I have a lot of effects in here. Like you could see there's a lot of street lights with a lot of volume lights. And the street lights are interactive. This is probably my favorite part of the project is I have these interactive street lights that you can knock over and they just get turned off. And there's like thousands of these lights in the scene. So I wrote a system with a job system burst compiler type thing and just optimized the settings of all of these lights and rigid bodies and colliders based on specific conditions. But yeah, this is kind of what my game will look like in the rest of the map that you're watching me build. The whole game will take place at night, I think. Yeah, 8 kilometers sounds right because I think that's what I did in mine. Let me actually go and check that really quick. So that's what my city looks like for anybody who's new. I'll load up that open world art scene and just do a quick cube measurement. But I'm pretty sure 8 kilometers is what I used. So I live in the US and here we don't use the metric system. I love working in Unity because like it's meters. And everything just scales by a power of 10, which is awesome. But so 3D cube, I'll push this into the middle of the world and I'll bring it up to like, I don't know, 1,000. And then I will scale it. Let's try 8,000. Yep, I think that's exactly what I used. Maybe not, though. Yeah. So 8,000 is what I used. And I just made sure all of my landscape stayed within those bounds. So basically anywhere that I would build within this white area, which is 8 kilometers, 8 square kilometers, you're good. And what you could do as a physical test is just make this plane like I just did, or a cube, and put a car right in the center and just start driving. Once you get to the edge, you're going to notice the floating point precision errors, and physics and lighting will break down and you'll have to turn back. Cool. Well, if anybody has any more questions before I get off, otherwise that's about it. I'll wait about another 2 minutes. But thanks for checking it out today, guys. I appreciate it. Do you have a link for ProPost? I don't know what that is. Is that on the asset store? No. Thanks, Bob Lob Law. I'm just gonna call you Bob Lob. It's easier to say. Oh, I need to like get up and stretch after sitting here for 3.5 hours. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. And if you want to chat more, there's always the Discord. Feel free to share your projects in there and get feedback. I will see you guys in the next stream. Have a good night. Bye.